Good morning, this is World News coming to you live from Warsaw. I'm Salia Stremska. Poland has reintroduced border checks with Lithuania and Germany starting today in an effort to curb the influx of illegal migrants. The new measures took effect at midnight on Monday and are expected to remain in place for the next month. Under the measures, Polish border guard officers, with support from the Polish army and the Polish police, are authorized to stop and inspect vehicles crossing the border. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said the decision was prompted by Berlin's refusal to accept the return of migrants trying to reach Germany. Tusk said that without checks on the Polish side of the border, it is difficult to verify whether the people being sent back to Poland should be returned at all. Polish authorities reiterated their commitment to the principle of borderless travel within the EU, at the same time saying it must be shared and equal among neighbours. At the border with Lithuania, reintroduced checks will also apply to the so-called green borders, which are areas such as forests and local roads. As part of these new measures, Poland has reinstated exactly 52 temporary border checks along the German border and 13 along the Lithuanian border. Even though the changes only came into effect at midnight last night, the move is already drawing criticism from some border communities. Our reporter Zuzanna Jurek is in Zgorzelec to see how the changes are being received on the ground.
The root of the problem is undoubtedly that we cannot yet fully control the external border against illegal migration, but we must strive to do so, and we must move as quickly as possible away from those measures that do not belong to the European Union and which, let me put it this way, are a temporary capitulation to the problem. We are negotiating with Poland on how this situation can be resolved. I hope that this will not lead to a long-lasting dispute between Poland and Germany.
Now we have a connection with Zuzanna. So what is going on the ground? How is the situation looking right now?
Good morning, Sally. So actually what we've seen so far appears to be pretty smooth sailing. We've expected to see some traffic jams, particularly as people usually commute to work to the German side around this time. However, so far it appears that the commutes have been pretty smooth. It is important, however, to note that obviously it is a Monday in July, which means that these volumes might be slightly lower. Additionally, what might be helping to evade some of these negative fallouts is the regional authorities who have actually taken countermeasures to ensure that people can commute smoothly into work. This includes installing additional traffic jam signalings and road signs. And we've also had initial responses from the national government as well. This includes the response from the Minister of Defense of Poland, Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz, who took to X to say that 5,000 soldiers will be dispatched to these border areas as part of the operation, so-called Operation Safe West and so-called Operation Safe Podlasie. These are respectively the operations being carried out in Germany and Lithuania, or on the borders in those countries. The word safe is obviously imperative here, as the reasons driving this reinstatation of these temporary border checks include the influx or the perceived influx of migrants from Germany and from the east as part of Russia's hybrid warfare against Poland. So far, however, the numbers of how many migrants have crossed into Poland appear to be slightly murky, with the official numbers standing at somewhat of a 300 to 400 to 700 of border crossings per month. However, this sentiment of insecurity is primarily being propelled by the right-wing nationalist groups, which have also organized the so-called border defense movement. We've seen some of the protesters gathering yesterday as well. They have carried out some ad hoc checks against people who they perceive as being foreign-looking. However, in terms of how this is being received by the local population, there's been a lot of criticism. They are seen as provocateurs who are not actually necessarily carrying out anything in relation to the security of these border areas. Of course, as the situation continues to evolve over the course of today, we will be bringing you more updates. But for now, it's back to you in the studio.
Zuzanna Jurek reporting from Zgorzelec, much appreciated. And of course, we'll be going back to Zuzanna throughout the morning for the latest updates. And now on a different topic, the BRICS countries have condemned recent Ukrainian attacks on bridges and railway infrastructure in 3 regions of Russia, but have not urged Russia to cease its war effort in Ukraine. The Bryansk, Kursk and Voronezh regions are located near Ukraine's northeastern border and have played a significant role as logistical hubs and launch sites for the Russian army. In a declaration, BRICS leaders condemned the attacks, which they say were targeting civilians in the 3 regions. In the statement, leaders of Brazil, Russia, Iran, China and South Africa also called for a negotiated peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine. The statement from the summit in Brazil comes just days after a phone call between the Russian President Vladimir Putin and his American counterpart Donald Trump. According to the Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov, Putin told Trump that Russia will continue to pursue its goals in the war against Ukraine. Putin himself is not present in Brazil and is participating in the summit via a video link, while the country is represented in person by the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. On Sunday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced that he had signed a new package of sanctions against Russia. He acknowledged that these sanctions would mostly target the financial system, including cryptocurrencies.
I've just signed a new sanctions package, and these are special sanctions that'll hit many Russian financial schemes, including cryptocurrency. The sanctions were introduced by the National Bank of Ukraine. This is both a synchronization with our partners and our own initiative. This is through one company, which is now on the sanctions list and only since the beginning of this year, i.e. before the sanctions. The Russians have spent several $billions, and this is mainly for the needs of their military industry. Of course, we will stop all schemes. Now that the usual financial routes for Russia are blocked in many places, they are switching to cryptocurrency payments, among other things. In total, the package today includes sanctions against 60 legal entities, and we will work with our partners to combine sanctions, ours and the European ones, ours and other significant jurisdictions of the world. This package also includes 73 individuals, all of whom are Russian citizens. We will also synchronize sanctions against them. This is not an easy job. Sanctions rules vary around the world, but we all have a common goal: to force Russia to end the war and limit its potential as much as possible.
Ukrainian soldiers are now training for real-world combat in virtual space. From firing mock weapons to simulating field missions, this tech-driven shift is saving resources and sharpening skills. But can it truly match battlefield conditions? Let's see.
The full-scale war has drastically changed Ukraine's military. Now even a small room like this can replace a 100-square-kilometer military training ground.
Today, I shot in night mode with a thermal scope. It's so hard.
Sergei has been serving in a mobile air defense group for 2.5 years. He says real training on shooting grounds is rare because today every bullet could be used on the front lines. But in the virtual world, you can hit enemy targets without limits. However, even such a powerful virtual breakthrough cannot fully replace the real battlefield.
There's adrenaline there. Here, it's just radios. And there, they shoot. There are explosions. The feeling is totally different. Here, it's calm. There, you feel the responsibility.
The creator of this virtual ground, Ihor Belov, says the system is not just effective, but also saves a lot of money.
The simulator pays for itself sometimes after just one shot, or even half a shot, especially with heavy weapons. And it's not only about the cost per shot. We must count logistics and the risk of gathering many soldiers in one place.
The virtual training base was created in 2018, but only after the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022, that it had become essential for Ukraine's military forces. Since then, it's been developing along with the army's needs.
Now, the situation on the battlefield is very dynamic. What we trained for yesterday might not be relevant tomorrow. Just yesterday, we trained for Shaheds flying at 400 to 500 meters. Today, that's not relevant. Now, they come at 2,000 to 3,000 meters. We can simulate a real mission in virtual space so that soldiers can later perform it in real combat.
The developer's next goal is to create more virtual simulators, including those for complex military systems and artillery.
And are moving to Moldova. The Victory Bloc, a coalition of pro-Russian parties backed by exiled oligarch Ilan Shaw, has announced plans to run in Moldova's parliamentary elections in September. Shaw's own party was banned in 2023 over national security concerns, but he remains an influential figure in Moldovan politics from abroad. The Victory Bloc will be led by Evgenia Gutul, the governor of the Gagauzia region. Gutul is known for her very close ties to Moscow and is subjected to US sanctions. It is unclear whether the alliance will actually be added to the ballot, given that several of its parties have already been banned by Moldova's constitutional court. Moldova has been the target of numerous Russian attempts to influence election outcomes. EU-oriented President Maia Sandu managed to win re-election in November last year, despite evidence of Moscow-backed voter bribing and election interference. A referendum on joining the EU, held in the same period, was approved by the slimmest of margins. In Romania, more than 1,500 people marched as the fifth edition of the Pride celebration kicked off, dedicated to the LGBTQ+ community. Participants waved colorful flags and called for equality. Notably, Romania still does not recognize same-sex couples, and LGBTQ individuals continue to face discrimination in the country.
Today, I'm a trans woman who wants to survive in a transphobic society. I basically want to exist as well as be allowed to exist. This is why I take to the streets, so people can see me, first of all. Because if they don't see me, they think I don't exist. But we do exist.
We wish that the community would have legal protection. We also wish that we can be able to benefit from bank credit or to pay our partners a visit in the hospital.
We want equal rights for each of us. We don't have rights, and this is why, since we have responsibilities and obligations, we also want to have rights, like everyone else.
July marks the 30th anniversary of the Srebrenica genocide, the largest mass murder in Europe since World War II. More than 8,000 Bosniak men and boys were killed by Bosnian Serb forces in what has become a lasting symbol of the brutality of the Bosnian War. The massacre in Srebrenica took place in July of 1995, when around 8,000 Bosnian Muslims were murdered by the Bosnian Serb army. The victims were mostly men. The tragedy also left thousands displaced and families and communities devastated. In 2007, the International Court of Justice ruled that the atrocities at Srebrenica were a genocide. 10 years later, Bosnian Serb army commander Ratko Mladic was given a life sentence after UN courts convicted him of genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes. The Aegean 600 offshore race took off yesterday from Souniu in Greece. Over the course of 600-mile non-stop race, sailors passed landmarks including Milos, Santorini, Rhodes, Kos, and Mykonos. The fastest boats so far were George Prokopius Ailos in the Maxi Monochli class and Adrian Keller's 25-meter catamaran Allegra in the multi-hull division. Often referred to as the perfect 600-mile race, the Aegean 600 is known for excellent weather and sea conditions. The course was designed by experienced offshore racers to test all the skills a team needs: preparation, safety, seamanship, navigation, proper sail selection, and trim. The course also proves to be a challenge for navigators routing around and even through the Greek islands. The sailors experience steady Meltemi winds of 15 to 25 knots, which are needed to complete the course in 3 to 5 days. In some areas, the winds build up to 40 knots, testing all teams to persevere in a variety of offshore conditions. And with this, we conclude our news recap. Thank you for watching World Talks with Jonas Rewiński. Coming up next.